All right, guys, welcome back for another video. Today, we're going to talk about how is it that you can start making money solving people's problems. We're going to talk about how to identify problems, how to identify buyer intent, how to identify just with a quick Google search if this market is going to be worth going after. Okay, so there's a couple things here. I have a couple things here written on my notes. We're going to be going through them one by one. And let's just get started. All right. So the first thing is understanding that money is constantly circulating. People are always spending money to solve problems. This is why, believe it or not, going to school is actually good, because you go to school and you educate yourself on becoming a problem solver. You're getting educated in a specific niche and understanding the solution to said problems people have. Now, of course, universities are evolving, education is evolving, but nonetheless, this is the key importance of education. You now become a problem solver with the education that you have learned. Now, in a hypothetical world where you want to either get into something, you want to start solving problems, you want to become a business owner, you want to become an entrepreneur, it's what we are at heart, you have to look first for demand. You have to become aware of what's happening in your city. What do you see people commonly driving around? What type of trucks are driving around, right? When I was younger, I was always looking to see what type of cars are driving around. What do I see? I saw tiki huts repair. A lot of people in Miami were doing tiki huts back in the day when I was younger. Fencing, pressure cleaning. That's I started a pressure cleaning business. Roofing companies all over the place, highly saturated, highly competitive, and not even a high profit margin in Miami-Dade County anymore, because there's so many guys that they're willing to work for a $2,000-$3,000 spread. A lot of landscaping companies, right? But of course, you're going to have other services. You're going to have financial services. You're going to have legal services, right? And these are obviously exclusive to people that pass the bar exam and are educated, which is another reason why they're able to charge what they charge, which, right? This is important. Now, let's say you want to do something else. You don't have a degree. You don't want to go into home improvement. You have to look at problems that people have, and you have to see if there's any search demand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Google Trends, and we're going to put in that keyword, the primary keyword that people would be searching, and we're going to target the city that we're in, and we're going to see, is there at least 1,000 people searching? If there's not, it's not worth going into business. You should have, realistically, in between the primary keyword and related keywords, 4,000 to 5,000 searches per month. Because let's consider you're going to convert 2% of that traffic, or even 1%. I mean, 1% is 400, which is great. But let's say out of, 3,000 or 2,000 impressions, or whatever the case is, you get a 1% conversion. Guys, you're doing pretty good. You're getting around at least 200 calls, and out of those 200 calls, you're probably going to be getting, depending on your sale, you could be getting anywhere from 30 to 50% of those clients, all right? Which is great. But the point is that we need to find search demand first. Once you find search demand, well, now we can begin looking at related keywords. We could be seeing the demand of those keywords on Google Trends. You're able to add multiple keywords, and you can compare them on a graph to see which one has more interest over time, etc. And we're looking for businesses that have consistent interest, right? We're not trying to go into a seasonal business, even though those might be profitable. We're trying to build a business that year round, that problem is present and people are paying. So one of the most important things as well is going into Keyword Planner, and we're going to be looking at what is buyer intent keywords versus just navigational question, things people are asking, reviews, or things like this, right? We're trying to get the hottest clients. And the way we're going to do that is by optimizing for what are called near me key terms. So on Keyword Planner, you can add a filter, and in that filter, you could put near me. And when you put near me, you're going to get all the keywords of people that are ready to make a transaction, right? These are transactional buyer intent keywords that you should be optimizing your website for and optimizing your silo structure, the silo architecture of your website. All right, very important note there. The reason I got into my pressure cleaning business is because I wanted to get into a business where people were constantly coming back and shopping. If you get into a business where the customer the customer's journey with you is just one time, well, you're always going to have to get new clients, right? And the best thing when you start a business that has repeat clients is that eventually your pipeline gets pretty full. Over time, over the years, you build a bigger pipeline, you start building relationships with the community, and you start getting people to come back and shop with you, considering you do good customer service and, of course, providing excellent service, right, for the actual job. So find services that are repeated. This is a big one. This is something I used to do back in the day. I used to search industries when I was doing market demand to see if it was a profitable problem. And I was looking first to see if people were paying for ads. Now, if people are paying for ads, there's money because you're spending money for people to click on your website. Now, I would go on Keyword Planner, and then I would look to see how much money are people paying per click. Because if someone is paying 20, 30, 40, 50, and in high ticket services, legal services, hundreds of dollars, that means there's tens of thousands to millions of dollars involved. I remember many years ago, I was looking at mesothelioma, and people were paying $400 per click for mesothelioma. So understand there's going to be markets that are hyper competitive, markets that are lower competition, people that are paying less per click because the product or service itself is less profitable. We're trying to find a market where people are paying a good amount per click and essentially it's not hyper competitive, right? Like personal injury, car accident attorney, etc. All right, guys, going down the list. When you're going into a business, right, we're doing market research, Google Trends, looking at competitors paying for ads. We're observing our city to see what is actually moving. Another thing that you can do is analyze the top 3 websites. We can plug them into Ubersuggest. We can see how many backlinks they have, how much traffic on average they're generating based on their positioning on Google. We can see the keywords they're ranking for. We can see a lot of things here. And based on this traffic, based on the keywords they're going for, right, we can also kind of get a gauge of their traffic and essentially the money they're making. So you want to analyze the top 3 competitors, right? I remember I even used to call as a client to see if they had availability. And you're going to see that sometimes if you do this, people are going to tell you that they're booked out, right? And if you call, let's say the top 3 competitors and they're busy, their schedule's tight, that means there's demand in that market enough to fill their schedule and it's good, right? Now, it's important to note that not every market that has a lot of, I would say, vendors, I don't want to say competition, vendors, people that are offering the service, doesn't mean that it's high competition, because it could be a bunch of people that they might have paid a marketing agency to make a website, but it's really not that optimized, right? You can go in there, build really good content, organize correctly, heading tags, schema markup, interlinking, outbound linking, right? Put some press releases, backlink it correctly, and you're going to see that very quickly you rank in that market and you start generating leads. All right, guys? So that's key. Moving on, this is pretty much going to be the last thing, okay? When you find the market, a website is not just a landing page. A website is your brand. It is the identity of your brand on the internet where large language models, Google, and other people are going to learn about you and what you offer, okay? You want to build a brand around all of the keywords, around all of the context of your industry and connect it to your brand so people can understand and search engines can understand you are the guy, you are prominent, and they should rank your business, of course, with backlinks. Very important. And the last thing is, don't go to industries. We're looking to become an entrepreneur, create, solve problems, right? We're trying to solve problems that are profitable. Don't try to create something that does not already have a demand. This is a mistake that a lot of people do. They try to create clothing brands. They try to create all this stuff without actually attaching a brand to it. In Miami, there's always new restaurants that are opening up. And when they're launching a new restaurant, guess what they do? They connect it to a brand because they know if you just open up a pop-up restaurant, it might be really nice. You might have invested hundreds of thousands, if not millions, into setting up the entire thing. But at the end of the day, if it's not hyped, if people can't connect it to a brand, that it's going to increase the value of the restaurant and justify the cost of the food and the drinks, people are not going to go, right? So in Miami, it's very common for people to open up a restaurant and connect it to an artist. But if you're just going to come around and open up, hypothetically, a clothing brand, and it's not connected to anyone, it's not owned by anyone that has already built a brand over many, many years, then it's going to be very difficult to sell. And for that reason, what we do is that we capture existing demand. We build a brand around a well-known problem in our city or in our county or state, and we target customers who are already searching for the answer, okay? And this is possible by doing everything I explained: Google Trends, Keyword Planner, building the brand, everything, looking at your competitors, giving them a call, seeing if they pick up the phone. Maybe you have competitors that don't pick up the phone, etc. Guys, this is how you get in the game. This is how you start solving problems that are profitable. See you guys in the next video.